Good afternoon, peoples. So since we couldn't do a Zoom call and it was going to be a whole lot to type, I thought I'd try to do a quick video that I tried to do several times this morning. Anyway, basically a couple of reasons or a few reasons why we do assistance, just like Mel listed. But the other thing you want to look at when you're looking at your assistance, that it's addressing any type of weakness, or any kind of deficiency. And these things also, when you're doing assistance, especially isolation type stuff, your body will learn how to use those muscles. And I'll give you an example. Look at bodybuilders. If you've ever done bodybuilding, as you grow in that and you do a lot of work and volume, you learn how to control those muscle groups. So that's why posing is such an important thing in bodybuilding. And so as you learn to use those groups and learn how to control them, especially in powerlifting and strength sports, those body parts work synergistically together, and that in turn creates more leverage, which is really the basis of strength, is leverage to move more weight. This is also a great way to help. There's a certain amount of risk in strength sports anyway, and what we're trying to do is, by our conditioning and how we train, is to minimize the risk of injury. You can't foolproof it, but you can certainly minimize the issues, and that's what assistance does. Now, for the bench press, I'll just go over that, and if there's any response or questions, I can do more of this. I prescribe for the bench and decline sessions that we do 4 main movements. That's lats, which we generally will do some sort of a variation of a row, rear delts, hammer curls with dumbbells, and we don't alternate, we do them together. I'll cover why later. And then shrugs. We'll follow that up with ab work, and which I think is vital. But core work, we do side bends as well, and sometimes some other things. But basically that's the template. Lats are the biggest, strongest muscle group in the upper body, and that's what's going to respond, to the heavy weight, like a barbell bent row. Just to give you an example, at my strongest, when I was benching in the 700s, I would routinely do bent rows, sets of 6 with over 500 pounds. Now that sounds, like a lot of weight, but that's fairly comparable. From there, pull downs, I prefer a row because it's the antagonistic part of the groove of your bench. But that doesn't mean you can't do pull downs, you can't do single arm type stuff. But I generally prefer and prescribe, doing something more compoundish, like a row. And the big thing, I do them first because all the secondary muscles, like your shoulders, your hands, and your biceps, they'll fatigue rather quickly, and you want the maximum amount of energy and strength for those lats, because it's going to take that kind of energy to stimulate the lats. Rear delts is next, and those you see that I was very specific with rear delts. The interior head, the front head of the delt, gets a ton of work and even abuse. If you're squatting, you're activating the interior head. If you're deadlifting, you're still activating the interior head. Just about everything. If you curl, you're activating the interior head. So rear delts are, again, if you look at bodybuilders, that is the part of the delts that really generally lacks the conditioning and size and strength. And it's imperative for stability in the bench press. And generally when you're doing those rear delt movements, you're also hitting the rhomboids, which that's another conversation in and of itself. But I'm really big on the upper back, and the rhomboids are vital. Those rear delts are really going to help you with push and stability. And if you've heard me speak at all, I'm a big proponent. The person that is in the most control and has the most stability generally lifts the most weight. So rear delts come into play. I like using the pec deck, a reverse pec deck, where I'm facing in instead of facing out, and as opposed to using dumbbells. A little safer, a little more control that way, and you don't tend to go as heavy. You're not heaving the dumbbell, so it's a control thing as well. Hammer curls is just, strictly, you're not supinating or twisting. It's just a hammer grip all the way up, and that's to condition the brachialis, the bicep tendon. And you will find in power lifters, that's generally a lot of lifters will end up early on with a bout of bicep tendonitis, and we combat it by doing that type of conditioning. Last is shrugs, and the pre-exhaustion that you get from doing your main movement. As an example, we do a bench movement, and we'll generally follow that with some sort of other bench movement as assistance. It could be a specialty bar, slingshot, dumbbells, any number of things. It all depends on what the lifter needs to work on or address. So by that time you're pre-exhausted, and then there's some fatigue that will set in after you've trained lats, rear delts, and hammer curls and traps. You can easily blow through those at the end. One of the things that I like to do, let me go back. The reason why we don't alternate the dumbbell is I want everything we do to be learning to work together. And by doing so, you'll learn to create more leverage, and you'll get stronger and curl more weight. But ultimately what the goal is not to curl more weight, is to condition yourself to the point that you're able to bench more weight. And I'm condensing a lot. So the shrugs, the variant that I like to use for the shrugs is I like to squeeze it up to the top and do a 2 1,000 count, and then control it down. And the reason why I do that is static strength and holding strength in powerlifting, especially in the bench press, is vital. So when you engage and pull, engage the scapula and really try to expand the chest and really get tight, when you receive that weight, if you don't have the strength in the upper back, the lats and the traps, rhomboids, rear delts, when you receive that weight, it'll flatten you out. You pronate the shoulders, and pressing power is gone. You will lose all your leverage. So those are the reasons why we do those. Again, I'm condensing, and hopefully this helps, and hopefully it sparks some questions and some discussion. So best of luck, and let me know if you have questions, and we'll do some more of this. Have a good weekend, everybody. Safe holiday.